What's up, fight fans? I'm the cartoon clown of mixed martial arts, Tommy Toehold, and UFC 209 is this weekend. So let's take a look at what this card has to offer from top to bottom. Our first fight is Albert Morales versus Andre Sukumthoth. The Asian sensation is making his UFC debut. He does come out of a strong camp, however. That said, he still doesn't have that high-level experience. Morales does. He lands 4.46 significant strikes per minute. He's got good takedown defense. I think he gets the win and possibly a stop. Albert Morales be a third-round finish. Our next fight is Amanda Cooper versus Cynthia Calvillo. Cooper has had 2 UFC fights. Her opponent is making her debut. Cooper has been a pro longer. She had a pretty long amateur career. I think it's a close bout. I think it goes to a decision, but I think Amanda Cooper comes out on top. Cooper via decision. Our third prelim, Tyson Pedro versus Paul Craig. Both unbeaten fighters, both very different in their styles in their UFC debuts. Pedro was a takedown machine. Paul kept the fight standing in his bout, landed 4.4 significant strikes per minute, but he has the lowest strike defense on the card. I don't think his takedown defense will be enough to stop Pedro from getting him to the ground, and that will be the story of the fight. Pedro wins via decision. Our first TV prelim is Mark Godbeer versus Daniel Spitz, 2 heavyweights. Spitz, another fighter making his UFC debut. Godbeer was subbed in his first UFC attempt, but when this guy does win, he always finishes. He's got heavy hands. I think Godbeer fares better in his sophomore effort. Godbeer wins via second round KO. Up next, Yuri Alcantara takes on Luke Sanders. The first stat that pops out, 7.16 significant strikes landed per minute by Luke Sanders. However, that was in one UFC bout. He only landed 54% of those shots, and he is going up against a very tough veteran in Yuri Alcantara. Alcantara has never been KO'd or subbed in the UFC, and he has fought some very high-level guys. I think he'll be able to control this fight. Alcantara wins via decision. Up next, we have Mirsad Bektic taking on Darren Elkins. Elkins, a longtime UFC veteran, but has a finishing rate of 18%. His opponent's defensive stats are just too good. In 4 UFC fights, Bektic has only absorbed 0.85 significant strikes per minute. He has a 73.85 strike defense rate and 100% takedown defense. The bottom line is Bektic will decide where this fight is fought. I'm looking for him to get a finish in the third. Our featured prelim is Marcin TYBURA versus Luis Henrique. Another heavyweight bouts. Heavyweights finish fights. This is yet another fight I think that comes down to defense. Henrique is going to want to get this fight to the ground. Unfortunately for him, thus far TYBURA has not been taken down in the UFC. If he can dictate where this fight is fought, he will land those hands and get the KO, and I think that's exactly what he does. TYBURA wins via second round KO finish. On to the main card, ALISTAIR Overeem versus Mark Hunt, 2 legends at heavyweight. If Mark Hunt lands one of those big shots, Overeem is done, no doubt about it. But the Reem has the size advantage. He has the height advantage. He has tried to take a more measured approach lately in his UFC career, and the biggest factor in my opinion, he doesn't get hit as much as Mark Hunt. 2 heavyweights throwing big hands, one gets hit less than the other. I think a well-placed kick might put Mark Hunt down. This one's going fast though. Overeem wins in the first round via TKO. After that, we have Lando Venata versus David Tamer. Both up-and-comers. Both have 2 fights in the UFC. Venata made waves when he fought Tony Ferguson, and he is the big favorite here. But both of these guys only have 2 fights in the UFC, and there are things about Venata's game that worry me. The amount of strikes he absorbs, specifically 8.52 significant strikes per minute. That is a lot of damage. On the other hand, Tamer 1.63. He has those defensive stats, and I think this fight will be a lot closer than people believe. I'm going with the upset, David Tamer via decision. Next up, the feature bout, Rashad Evans versus Daniel Kelly. Rashad making his middleweight debut after a career at light heavyweight. He has the most UFC wins on this card at 14. He also has the most UFC losses with 5. However, this is against the highest level fighters. Kelly has amassed 5 wins in the UFC, but he is much later to the game than Evans is. I think being in a smaller weight class is going to be a massive advantage for Evans. His speed, his wrestling background. Kelly is a tough opponent, but I just think it'll be too much. Rashad wins via second round TKO. Title fight time, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson. This fight is tough, but again, the one stat that pops out in my head here, Nurmagomedov takes far fewer strikes than Ferguson does, and he is relentless with his takedowns. Now he has to be careful because Ferguson could catch him on the ground with a sub, but I do think this is Nurmagomedov's fight to lose. Will he stop Ferguson? I don't think so, but I do see him putting on 5 rounds of pressure. Nurmagomedov wins via decision. And finally, the rematch, Tyron Woodley versus Stephen Thompson. The first fight went to a draw. This second fight could potentially as well. These fighters are very evenly matched, and do not sleep on Tyron Woodley's finishing ability. He has just as many UFC KOs as Stephen Thompson. Both are capable of flash KOs, but to me, the significant advantage that Woodley has that he did not utilize in the first fight is his wrestling background. I think he switches gears here, focuses more on getting the fight to the ground, and barring a flash KO from Thompson, does so and finishes the fight there. Tyron Woodley retains via 4th round TKO. That was UFC 209. This thing is gonna be crazy. See you on the leaderboards, fight fans!